Over 2,500 years ago, in a time of war and chaos, a mysterious wise man wrote a short book of only 5,000 words that would influence billions of people across history, from emperors to artists, monks to scientists. Imagine a landscape of misty mountains and flowing rivers, rendered in the delicate, monochromatic brushstrokes of ancient ink paintings, where the air itself feels heavy with unspoken secrets. This is the world of Laozi, the old master. We are stepping back into the late spring and autumn period of China, a violent era where the old social order was crumbling and feudal states clashed for power. Yet, amidst the clanging of swords, the 100 schools of thought were blooming like wildflowers in a storm. In this atmosphere of profound uncertainty, people weren't just looking for political solutions, they were searching for a way to live in harmony with a universe that seemed increasingly discordant. Today, we explore the enigma of the man, the magic of his cryptic verses, and why a text once carved into simple bamboo slips remains the most translated book in the world after the Bible. To really grasp Laozi's wisdom, we have to look at the chaos that birthed it. The spring and autumn period was a time of great turmoil. The central authority of the Zhou dynasty was collapsing, leaving local warlords locked in a brutal cycle of betrayal and bloodshed. Imagine an ancient manuscript being slowly torn apart. That was the reality of Chinese society at the time. This instability sparked a desperate intellectual search for the way to restore order to a world on fire. But while other schools of thought focused on strict laws or rigid, complex rituals, the seeds of Taoism were being planted in the minds of those who looked away from the palace and toward the forest. There's a striking contrast here. On one side, the fortified, stone-cold cities of the era, and on the other, the wild, untamed natural world that Laozi would eventually champion. It was a philosophical explosion born directly from the ashes of war. It set the stage for a mysterious thinker who would suggest something radical, that perhaps the best way to lead was not to lead at all. The legend of Laozi is as poetic and elusive as the Tao itself. Tradition tells us he was a man named Li who served as the keeper of the archives for the Zhou dynasty. As the librarian of the universe, he held the keys to the kingdom's deepest histories and most guarded records. It was in these dusty halls that he supposedly met a young, ambitious Confucius. While Confucius sought to master ancient rites to fix society, Laozi offered a different path. He told the great teacher to drop his proud airs and many desires, famously comparing his own wisdom to a dragon that transcends the clouds. This meeting captures one of history's greatest intellectual clashes, the social architect versus the mystic sage. Picture them by a moonlit river, one studying the bank to build a bridge, the other watching the water to learn how to flow. Eventually, witnessing the irreversible decay of the kingdom, Laozi chose to leave civilization forever. He mounted a dark ox and began his slow journey toward the western Hangu Pass, turning his back on the chaos of men to find the eternal silence of the mountains. As Laozi approached the Hangu Pass, the final gateway to the world beyond, the border guard Yin Shi recognized the old man's profound aura. Legend says Yin Shi refused to let the sage pass until he recorded his wisdom for the benefit of humanity. Under the shadow of the mountain gate, Laozi sat down and penned the 5,000 characters that became the Tao De Jing. But who was this man, really? Scholars have debated his historicity for centuries. Was he a single historical figure, or is Laozi simply a title representing a composite of many different wandering sages? Some argue the text was compiled over generations, a collection of oral wisdom finally set to bamboo. Others point to the distinct, singular voice that echoes through the chapters, suggesting a lone genius. This mystery doesn't weaken the message. Rather, it reinforces the Taoist idea that the self is less important than the way. Much like the wind through a bamboo forest, the man vanishes into the mist, leaving only his words behind. He becomes as elusive as the Tao he described, proving that perhaps the author's identity is the ultimate lesson in humility. The Tao De Jing is a masterpiece of brevity and depth, divided into 81 short poetic chapters.
It is notoriously difficult to translate because the ancient characters are so dense with meaning. The opening line itself warns us, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. It's a paradox that sets the stage for the core of Lao Tzu's philosophy. The style is rhythmic and mysterious, using metaphors of flowing water and the uncarved block to point toward truths that words alone cannot capture. Think of the text like a bamboo forest. Each segment is distinct, yet they are all part of one living system. Lao Tzu doesn't provide a list of rigid commandments. Instead, he offers meditations on Wu Wei, or non-action, the art of moving with the natural flow of the universe. He challenges our logic, telling us that the weak overcomes the strong and the empty is more useful than the full. Consider a bowl. It is the void inside that makes it functional. This book demands to be felt rather than just read, inviting you to look between the lines and return to the Tao.
At the heart of Lao Tzu's thought lie three pillars: the Tao, Dai, and Wu Wei. The Tao is the ultimate nameless source of all things, the underlying rhythm and flow of the universe. Dai is the virtue or inherent power that manifests when we live in harmony with that rhythm. But the most famous, and perhaps most misunderstood, concept is Wu Wei. While often translated as non-action, it doesn't mean sitting idle or being lazy. Think of it instead as effortless action. It's the way water carves a massive canyon, not by force, but by persistence and flow. It's the way a tree grows toward the light without ever trying to grow. It is about acting without friction, moving with the natural grain of existence rather than exhausting yourself fighting against it. Lao Tzu calls us back to simplicity and naturalness, urging a return to the state of the uncarved block, pure, full of potential, and uncorrupted by the artificial constructs and labels of society. In a world obsessed with the hustle and the ego, Lao Tzu offers a radical alternative, a path of quiet, unstoppable power found simply by yielding to the way.
The influence of Lao Tzu is like a river that has branched into every corner of Asian culture, carving deep valleys in the human psyche over millennia. Taoism became one of the three teachings of China, profoundly shaping the development of Zen Buddhism, which took the Taoist love of paradox and nature and fused it with Indian philosophy. You see Lao Tzu's fingerprints everywhere, in traditional Chinese medicine, which seeks to balance the body's qi or life force, and in internal martial arts like Tai Chi, where the practitioner wins by yielding, proving that the softest water can eventually wear away the hardest stone. In art and poetry, the misty mountain style of painting is a direct visual representation of the Taoist soul, where the emptiness or wu on the canvas is just as vital as the ink itself. Even today, Lao Tzu's ideas about decentralized power and organic self-organizing systems resonate with modern scientists and environmentalists alike. He taught us that the smallest pivot can shift the largest system. It is a staggering legacy, how just 5,000 ancient words continue to flow through the heart of our modern world.
As we conclude our journey through the mist-covered peaks of ancient China, we find that Lao Tzu's secret wasn't a secret at all. It was an observation of the obvious truths we often forget. He reminds us that in a world of constant striving, there is power in stillness. In a world of loud voices, there is wisdom in silence. The old master on his ox, disappearing into the Hanggu Pass, left us a map to our own inner nature. Whether you view him as a god, a philosopher, or a legend, the Tao Te Ching remains a glowing scroll in the darkness, inviting us to stop fighting the current and start flowing with the way. This is the essence of Wu Wei, the concept of effortless action, or non-striving. Returning to the Tao isn't about moving backward, it's about moving inward to find the simplicity that has been there all along. The secret sage who changed history didn't do it with an army, but with the quiet strength of 5,000 words and the courage to walk away from the noise. He showed us that when we align with the natural flow, we find a strength that never fades.